stabilizing layer and capping it with EnviroFill. Place a bag in your wheelbarrow and slice the bottom open with your X-Acto knife. You can infill the bulk of your grass with a drop spreader, but always have a grain shovel for filling the edges and corners of your grass. With a nice even load of infill, hold the shovel so that the head is level to the ground and move in a backward swooping motion, dropping a consistent amount of infill with each pass. This technique takes some practice, but once you dial it in, you can infill smaller projects this way. If you choose to do so, always keep level scoops and be sure that the right side of your shovel is dropping the same amount of infill as the left side of your shovel. Holding it crooked can cause unwanted bumps in your finished surface. There's more finesse to it than just throwing sand on the grass. You want to work in straight lines and be sure to get total coverage across the entire grass surface. With experience, you'll have the infill falling out of your shovel just like a drop spreader would have dropped it. A drop spreader with an adjustable spread rate is your sure bet for a consistent infill layer. Stay away from the rotary spreaders. You want a nice even drop out the bottom. Shown here, we're dropping around 1 pound of pure ZO per square foot of grass. Be sure to keep your speed consistent throughout and fill any areas not reachable by the drop spreader by hand once you're finished. The second layer of infill in this project will consist of 1 pound of EnviroFill dropped per square foot of grass. This is part of the BellaTurf pet system and is proven to eliminate most pet odors. The green color of EnviroFill makes it a beautiful choice. However, pay close attention to your rows with the spreader as it disappears visually into the grass as you drop it. Consistency is key with your infill layer. The smoother you spread it, the smoother your surface will feel underfoot once it's all broomed in. Which size roll needs to be installed first and remove any packaging. A sharp blade with light pressure does the trick. If available, roll the grass out on a flat surface. It will make the next steps quick and easy. When you know there are going to be seams, it's best to prepare your edges before putting the grass in place. We recommend removing the outer 3 tufts on your seaming edge, trimming the backing tight to the tuft being seamed and the excess backing removed. This install requires some narrow lengths of grass, so we will be measuring and cutting those in advance to make this easier. The edge being cut here is a border edge and not a seam, so we can simply cut right down the center of the tufts, giving us our first piece to lay against the far edge of the yard. With as many pieces pre-cut as possible out on the flat road, it's time to roll them up and get surfacing. This is the first full width roll going in. The edges need trimmed carefully for a perfect seam, so we're going to go ahead and remove the outer 3 tufts from this piece. Just to show, let's cut one tuft off first and see how hard the blades are leaning outward. By removing 3 tufts, you're left with a nice vertical edge to seam with, guaranteeing perfect seam. Finish off that cut all the way down the piece and it's time to float it into place. By keeping the edge of the grass pulled tight and waving a bit of air under it, you can gently shift your pieces into place without disrupting the base beneath. With your grass in place and edge cut for a seam, it's time to bring your next roll in. Gently place it on the grass and roll it out. This piece is a bit tricky and it will be cut in around an object. Let's get it close to position before we move on to cutting grass. Changing up the layout here of an existing side yard. Turf just used to end abrupt with a piece of edging, and there was some rock. Installed a piece of precision edge and was just cutting the turf to it. Thought I'd take a minute just to show the technique we use here. So got the cut started. Let's pull this back to where we're doing. Okay, now when you cut to an edge like this, you want to see about an 1/8 inch gap. You know, when you're cutting, you don't want big gaps, and you don't want it sitting tight. So to do this, roll this side back, and with a long blade, pull, hold tight, reach, pull back, using the inside guiding about an 1/8 inch away. Pretty simple. Also, keeping this stuff pulled back, keeping it with the direction you're cutting helps out. This piece of turf has infill in it, so it's a bit more difficult of a cut than if it were just a brand new piece. But yeah, it lays nice. This side will be river rock once it's done. But yeah, nice border we got going here. Hopefully that helps you cut these on site. Install the edge first, let the turf hang over, cut from the top. Just roll that backing back. Like when you roll the backing back, and the knife, when you're pulling in like an up and back motion, you're sawing on the backing itself, and you lose minimal blades. Where if you're cutting from the top, you cut those blades off often. Where if you pull from the back, there'll be less of this, because when you lose blades, sometimes you'll have bald spots in your edge. Nobody likes that. Turf tip, sharp blade, clean cuts.